Hey, I'm Karen Skolsky, psychic medium from the USA.
And I'm Bev and psychic medium from the UK. And together we are.
Two mediums, one large universe.
Um, this week we thought we'd discuss superstitions, didn't we?
Yes, I believe superstitions and traditions.
Excellent, yeah. Because there are so many. So Karen, do you want to go ahead with some superstitions that I know you're familiar with?
Okay, so I was going to start with I want to start with the knocking on wood because this one cracks me up. Because it comes from they say the Celtic and the British area there, where knocking on wood came from, where they said there were spirits in trees, good and bad. So when you knocked on the wood on the tree, it was either to awaken them, to ask them for a favor, or to chase them away. Okay, so
Ah,
that's where knocking on wood. And they said that was it the Turks? Let's see. Yes, they have to unpainted wood they have to touch. Also, the Italians touch steel, and they
ah.
said that in Great Britain, the children used to have a game. Did you ever play this, Bev? And it used to be called Tiggy Touchwood, and it was a game of tag, and you had to touch wood to be safe.
No, but touch wood is the saying that is used so broadly throughout the UK. If you really want something to happen, you'll say, "I really hope this happens." Touch wood, or I hope it doesn't happen, and you touch your head, touch wood. So again, that's the superstition. And I think as well with this knocking on wood, the Celts used to practice this as well, because they believed that tree spirits were inside the trees. So by knocking on the wood, it was showing respect and I suppose reverence, wouldn't it? But yeah,
Mm.
I do it all the time. I bet every week I say it, I hope it goes okay.
And, I,
Touch
and
wood.
and if you don't have wood around you, always knock on your head. And then there's another one, walking under a ladder.
Mm,
And
yeah.
I just think that it's common sense. But they said that comes from, they said when they had the gallows and people would walk, up to the gallows on the ladder. If you
Yeah.
walked underneath it, it was haunted. It was said to be haunted. And
Right. Also, there's probably a chance you're going to get clobbered in the head and by your body coming down, maybe.
oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And then that would be a bloody mess, right?
it
And then
really would.
and then they said too also it represents like the Trinity, the Holy Trinity. So to walk
Yeah.
underneath it would be sacrilege. And then another one said in Egypt, if you don't want to do that because the gods might be going up or down that ladder.
Oh, okay. Do you know what though? The Egyptians were really, really superstitious as a race, weren't they?
Oh yes. And so I believe the Romans too, pretty much.
Yeah,
There's a lot with the
yeah.
Romans, like the broken mirror, right?
Mm.
That's still to this day. I still feel uncomfortable if I break a mirror,
Yeah, every year's
right?
bad luck.
Right? And then they said that the crack in the mirror could trap one's soul if you keep that. And then they said that it opens portals to different dimensions, so you don't want to let anything evil escape.
Mm.
And then the Romans, they said if you bury the broken pieces by the moonlight, it prevents the bad luck.
Do you know
I think that,
it's really strange, but I suppose from a psychic mediumship point of view, we know that we can do scrying and bring energies forward through mirrors and the theory is that there can be portals. So maybe these Romans were onto something. I don't know.
mm,
I've heard another theory as well, and I think this might have been unique to like Britain, where in old houses, stately homes, the staff would be cleaning the houses, and if they were unfortunate enough to break a mirror, the cost of replacement would be 7 years' wages. So
oh,
that would
there's
definitely
the
be seven
seven,
years bad luck, wouldn't it? So
right?
I don't know how true it is. There's a few sort of different versions of it.
And then also you can use that for the traditions too, because I know in some cultures they cover the mirrors when someone passes,
Have you come
right?
across the one about opening umbrellas as well?
Yes, yes, the opening the umbrellas, and I think that originated in England.
Well, I thought so, and then I had a quick look into it, and it seems it was from Egypt, which makes no sense.
Oh, oh, it is from Egypt. You are right. And it's an insult to the sun god if you do it inside.
Wow. Yeah, because we automatically think of umbrellas sheltering us from the rain, I suppose, don't we? And
Yeah, but over there they used to carry
parasols.
the umbrellas.
Mm,
Yes, the parasols for the
yeah,
sun.
yeah. I'm a big fan. I know when I was in Saudi, I had an umbrella, and yeah, and a lot of the Asian ladies, they're not daft. They bring them out. They're not silly, you know.
Hmm.
It affords you a lot of shade. So totally down with that.
I
Yeah,
have a few of them, a few
me
different
too.
fancy ones.
Me too. I've got one with Hogwarts written on it, but the writing doesn't appear
Oh,
until it rains, and then the water hits it, and the writing comes up. Such a child.
I want one.
Yeah, I'll look out for one
Oh,
for you.
yeah, thank you. And then blessing for when you say God bless you
Mm.
from a sneeze, right? That's to keep the devil from swooping in to steal your soul.
Oh wow! Right.
How about the rabbit's foot? Not lucky for the rabbit, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. This is an odd one. What did you come across
yeah,
for that?
that is a Celtic, because the Celts believe that the underground has a direct communication to the gods. So,
Okay.
yeah, so the charms were popular too with women trying to conceive because the rabbit is fertile. So they would do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I suppose that makes sense.
Okay. Lucky pennies.
Oh.
Okay. Lucky pennies. Metal was regarded as valuable in many cultures.
Okay.
So if you found one, that was a sign from the gods that they were going to protect you. So yeah, so that's one. And then they say if you find a penny face down, don't pick it up, but turn it over for the next person.
Ah, you see, I've been doing it wrong. Maybe that's where all my calamities come from. I'm like, ooh, penny from heaven, and I'll pick it up. I never thought of it. So it's face up or face down.
You need to pick it up when it's face up, heads up.
Oh, I bet I've been taking pennies that aren't meant for me. Do you know the one? It just reminded me of something. I don't know the answer to this, but you might know it. Where somebody will say to you, you know, when you're far away and you're thinking, and someone will say, "A penny for your thoughts." Have you heard that?
Oh yeah, yes.
But I don't know what that means. Do you? Not sure. We might have to look that one up, or put it out to our listeners
Sounds
and
good.
ask if anybody else knows what a penny for
Yes,
your thoughts is. I mean, most of these
yes.
superstitions have a foundation in fact, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like I do not know. I looked up see a pen and pick it up all the day you'll have get up.
Yeah.
But I just think that's just so you don't step on a pin.
Oh, yeah, but you see, you said pin, right? I have heard in here in England, find a penny, pick it up, or that day you'll have good luck. So
Yeah.
how strange.
Yeah.
And it didn't say about it being face down. So maybe that's another difference we have between the US and the UK.
Yeah.
So have you come across the one about throwing salt over your left shoulder?
Yes. Throwing salt over your left shoulder. That has a few things too. Because that was all spices were very valuable and salt was
Right.
valuable. So if you did that, you just throw it over your left shoulder because they say like the devil's supposed to be on your left shoulder. So when you throw it, you hit him in the eye.
Mm.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
only other thing I'd heard was, you know, the Last Supper with Judas Iscariot, get the name right.
Yes.
He was depicted as spilling salt in the cellar. So there was something around that sort of surrounding things being evil and bad
Right.
luck. It's, I think, a lot of different versions of that one, but the most popular one from what I've heard is the throwing it over the left shoulder to keep the devil away.
Yeah. Yeah. And so you said Judas, right? And that's Judas is represented for unlucky because number 13,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes
because
sense.
he was the 13th guest, right? And then so then they made 13th bad, which it
Mm,
isn't. It's a divine feminine number. That's right. So if anyone has any superstition
yeah.
idea, yeah, information, you could just leave it in the comments for us. That would
Yeah,
be wonderful.
absolutely. It's just so interesting to see that most of these have continued through to modern day, and I've no doubt will continue ad infinitum, don't you?
Yes, and then you'll see like the buildings, they have 13th floor. A lot of them, they don't have a 13th
Yeah.
floor. Planes don't have a 13th row, some of them.
Yeah, it'd be cool to hear from other people about their different superstitions and quirks. When you think of superstitions, how many witches were burned and committed to awful deaths for basically things that were superstitions? You know, the people had got no proof that there was anything wrong. So I've got a bit in my left eye where the colour is there's two colours, and I remember my mum and my nan saying it was a cast, and in the olden days I would have been burnt as a witch for having this. So all these little,
Mm.
you know, and that's just one instance where a superstition caused murder, grief, and unrest. Poor ladies, they didn't. If some elder didn't like you, I'm sure they made up half what, you know.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So anybody who's studied witchcraft and you know, the witch trials might be actually that would be a really good podcast episode, wouldn't it? Talking about the witch trials, because
I would
that's
love that.
massive and over both sides of the pond as well. Have you ever been to
Mhm.
Salem?
Yes, I've been to Salem. I went on my
Oh,
honeymoon.
oh, lucky you. I'm so jealous. Was it cool?
Yes, I went a couple times. It was pretty good.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that's a place I'd like to go. I imagine it's steeped in history.
It's a little commercial right now, but
Yeah.
everything gets that way, correct?
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, of course. We have a few places that are famous for witches and witch trials in the UK as well, but they're mostly regions rather than particular buildings. Yeah, when you come over to the UK, we'll go and explore. So the other thing we said we were going to have a chat about tonight, which kind of marries up with superstitions, are traditions throughout the world, and particularly traditions surrounding. I suppose it's a bit morbid, but given the subject that we're talking about, burial traditions and how people immortalize their dead, you know, in different
Mm.
ways. Like we're very traditional in the UK, although it is changing somewhat now. But generally speaking, there's a funeral, and you'll either get buried or cremated. There are very little variances on it. It becomes personalised, but I wouldn't say that there's a definite tradition. It's either religious or non-religious, and very much within that remit. But around the world, for instance, in Tibet, they have sky burials. And I don't know how I feel about this. But then you think about, you know, monks live in Tibet. They're very peaceful. It's a very, very peaceful place, isn't it?
Mhm.
But basically, they take the bodies of the deceased and they're placed on a mountaintop to just decompose naturally. And then they're eaten by scavenging vultures and birds. Now, it is rooted in the Buddhist tradition, and it's showing compassion of the transitory nature of their physical bodies and their physical existence. And I suppose a final act of charity by giving back to nature, just offering sustenance to the birds. But I suppose it's quite a spiritual way to say goodbye to people. I wouldn't want to be the person who has to hike up the mountain with a dead body, though, would you?
No, I've actually seen on Instagram, not in person, one of those burials, and there was people around below, not on the top of the mountain, and you saw all the birds of prey,
Oh, wow.
around. You didn't see the bodies. You didn't see the bodies, but there was people there on the bottom, and they were watching very quietly, just watching.
Yeah. Well, it's, it's their tradition's probably not well, it's a custom, isn't it? It's something that's
Mm.
ingrained through generations. And saying it out loud, it just seemed kind of the circle of life, really, doesn't it? The other one I looked at was in the Philippines. They have hanging coffins. It's only in some ethnic groups, but they hang these coffins from cliffs, and they're either tied or they're nailed, or placed in cave openings. I think this is really lovely. It's all about moving the bodies closer to heaven because they're elevating them, and they actually want to protect them from animals and floods. So it's slightly different to the one before, but getting towards higher towards heaven. Again, that's another one I can appreciate. Now, this one I'm going to talk about is the New Orleans jazz funerals. I think these are amazing.
I love that.
This is all about celebrating life, isn't it?
I love that.
And apparently it's a blend of American, African, and French traditions all merged into one. And it starts with a solemn march by the friends and family and the brass band. And then it's followed by the lively music and dancing afterwards. So that's referred to as the second line. So it's not that they're disrespectful. They're showing that respect at first, and then they move on to the celebration. And apparently that's the way of helping the deceased to find their way to heaven, and assist the living with coping with grief. How beautiful is that?
I love it. I love it. I love that whole procession. The whole procession of it is beautiful.
Now, going completely the other way, I have seen this on TV and I thought it was pretty cool, actually. Fantasy coffins that they make in Ghana. So it's common in Ghana that they bury their dead in elaborately crafted coffins known as fantasy coffins. And they can be anything, unique shapes like animals, they can be cars, fruit, any object that's significant to the person who's departed. And it celebrates the life of the deceased, and it represents their journey to the afterlife. So they get to take some essence of them with them. And the ones that I've seen, I think one person had a real love of chocolate, and they made this massive chocolate bar coffin, and it was so realistic. It was a work of art. And then cars, you could go in a Lamborghini. They're really beautiful works of art. We all have different beliefs about what the afterlife pertains. The Egyptians used to euthanize their animals and bury them with them, didn't they? Yes, they believed they took them to the afterlife. And
yes, there's servants too.
Yeah, that was a bit sad, isn't it? Okay.
Yes.
This is one that you and I have spoke about before, which I've seen this on the TV, and it's done in a respectful way, but I'm not sure how I feel about it. And it's the turning of the bones in Madagascar. So basically, fama de hina, or turning of the bones, and it involves exhuming the wrapped dead bodies of their ancestors every 5 to 7 years, and rewrap them in fresh cloth and dance with them around the tomb to live music. Now, it's a really joyous celebration, and it's a way for the living to remember and honour their deceased relatives whilst maintaining a direct link with their ancestors. I did watch a programme on it, and it's all very normal for them. That's part of their heritage, it's part of their tradition, and it's done with such love that I don't understand it, but I can see how they do it and why they do it in their particular tradition. It's an odd one, though.
I can't even get my relatives to dance with me now. Forget about after I'm gone.
Oh, I know. Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you have to give these people their due. All these different types of funerals, they're showing great respect to their ancestors, and their methods. Maybe we might struggle with the method, but their motives are very pure. So I came across this one, and I thought, this is beautiful. These are called underwater burials, and this is in the USA.
Oh.
Basically, it's an eco-friendly alternative to traditional burial methods, and it involves creating artificial reefs where cremated remains are mixed with environmentally safe cement to form structures to support marine life. So the memorials provide a living legacy of the deceased people whilst contributing to a healthy ecosystem in the ocean. And they form these coral reefs. They've got these structures that it's like looking at Atlantis. If you get a chance to have a look at it, and I thought, what an amazing concept.
I like that because,
Yeah.
it's doing something good. You're doing something good.
Yeah, it makes sense and it's beautiful and it's honourable. I just thought that was really lovely. And the conclusion for me is the burial traditions throughout the world and different cultural practices, although they seem very different, there's so many commonalities. They're all doing it with the same sense of, one, respect for the person that's passed and elevating them forward to the next world, and two, to help them with their passage of grief.
Right. And to probably they feel too that they're helping the body soul, some of them too.
The one I do struggle with, and I don't know how you feel about this, Karen, cryogenics, where they're freezing bodies in the hope that medical advances will come on and then possibly the person may be brought back to life and live another lifetime.
What do you think about that?
I don't know. The bit that really got me is it's a lot of money. And obviously you've got to pay rental on your freezer. You've got to be able to keep it going, for many years. So they have this, you pay this and your body's frozen, and at some point, if there's I suppose there's an agreed cure, then you'll be thawed and cured. Who knows? I doubt we're going to see it in our lifetimes. But the ones that got me are the ones that can't afford the whole body, and they just have their head done. I mean, is it me, Karen? But is that wrong? Is that what?
You're just leaving yourself open for experiments,
Oh my gosh, I know. And the thing is, why would you want your head on somebody else's body?
Or something else's body?
Exactly.
Wait a minute, are you still alive when they cut your head off?
Oh no, they can't be. I think they do it quite soon after death.
They have to.
But to me, it's macabre. It's a bit like Frankenstein. But imagine, it's like, I can't afford my whole body. Well, go on, just take my head then. Why?
You'd be running around on the dog's body or something. You don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, live this life. Treasure this life. And I can't understand the semantics of it, because how long can you go on providing income and freezing for these people? How many generations before you run out of money and they have to get thawed anyway?
I just feel like it's another money maker or something.
It really does.
I love it. It should be.
Oh, blimey. It's a crazy world, isn't it? I think, I'm a bit preserve the dignity, really. Yeah, I believe, as you, I think, also believe, Karen, as mediums, we know that you can't destroy life. The body is simply the vessel, and the consciousness survives. So, if your head, which is your body, which is your vessel that you no longer need, is in a freezer somewhere, and your consciousness is elsewhere, you're going to be kicking yourself, aren't you? Thinking, why the heck did I spend £1 million on that? Each to their own. If they earn their money and they want to pay it in whichever way, I just find it mind-boggling. And it actually makes me think of these traditional funerals that we looked at tonight, which we thought were quirky, seem quite reasonable compared to something like that. Now, today is April the 7th, and tomorrow it seems that it's going to be an auspicious, is auspicious the word? Date.
Auspicious.
Yeah, in our history. I'm probably over-egging this, but if you look at the general chatter on the internet and you do some research around this, there's a couple of events that are happening that can be pretty momentous.
Yes, we're going to have that full solar eclipse with the new moon in Aries. It's a lot of fire going around, and so that's really good for new beginnings and transitions, and just things coming to light to be seen. Things are going to be a little bit chaotic, and a lot of different cultures have superstitions around the eclipse too. Like the I believe the Navajo Nation, if I'm correct, they abstain from food and they reflect on life, and their parks are closed. I think their schools are even closed. So yeah, so for them that the eclipse is sacred. What else do we have too? We have comets. The comet is coming at the day of the eclipse. I think it says.
Oh, okay. Because I know in America, North and Central America also, you're going to have a clear view of this eclipse, aren't you?
Yes, yes. There's a whole line of it. It's like in the Midwest.
Yeah.
And going right down there. Then in addition to the comet, we have the solar flares. I think we have meteor showers coming in too.
I know people are starting to liken tomorrow to, because there are several events that are purported to happen on the same day, that it's a bit end of days type of prophecies, the biblical prophecies. I think there's some hype around it. Honestly, it's like there's this massive invitation gone out to the universe for this party tomorrow of sorts, where we've got this eclipse and like you say, there's all this solar activity. And then for the first time in 200 years, trillions of periodical cicadas, which are like little locusts, are emerging, all set to the backdrop of this solar eclipse. It's like Mother Nature just couldn't resist joining in this whole party. Now, these cicadas, apparently, they hatch from underground every 15 to 17 years, something like that. I might be slightly out of timings. But this is the first time in 200 years that all these different species of cicadas are going to be doing it at the same time.
Yeah, they're calling it the dual emergence.
Really? It is a big deal, isn't it? Like, I mean,
yes.
Will you feel that? Will you be seeing those where you are?
Oh, yeah, because we usually get them in our backyard. These are supposed to be from 1803 or something like that.
Oh, Karen, can you film them if you dare?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Oh, bless you.
So you don't get to hear this cicada over there?
No, and apparently they make this humming noise, don't they?
You don't hear the cicada?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay, yes, I will. Yeah, they're not very pretty.
No.
And no, and they're very noisy.
So imagine if this does happen tomorrow, particularly where you are, Karen. You've got this total eclipse, so you're in darkness, and there's this massive hum of these wee beasties coming out of the ground. But just to add something else into the mix.
Okay.
Are you familiar with CERN in Switzerland? It's a company that do lots of scientific research, and they've got all these scientists. They've built this fancy hadron collider. It's this huge tunnel that goes over so many miles. I can't remember how far, in Switzerland, underground. And basically, what they plan to do, allegedly tomorrow, is to smash protons together at high speed, and basically try to find the elusive, what they're calling the God particle, invisible energy that the Earth was created from. It's the thing that gives everything mass. So yeah, they're planning to do that. on this particular day. Now I think this is the first time in 3 years that CERN have going to wake their mighty beast up. And if you believe it, you're going to have these cicadas singing their hearts out, and Sun and Moon are going to play hide and seek. And CERN's Hadron Collider is going to unlock the secrets of the universe, and glimpse at the most important particle that mankind have ever known. So it's not going to be an average day, allegedly. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out tomorrow, Karen. And I do know there are other theories about other things that are happening around that day. And there's a really big buzz about it on the internet. I personally am trying to sort of, keep myself grounded about this, because we did very much worry about the millennium, and everything was going to be changing then. The Mayan calendar, there was all these prophecies that when the Mayan calendar came to its 1000th year and there were no more dates left, that was going to be Armageddon, end of days. So there were lots of people predicting that the world was going to end then. And there's also been rumour that the Antichrist might pop in as well, just to put that out there. So what are your thoughts on that, Karen? Are you buckled up, ready for this?
Oh my goodness! In my backyard too, with the cicadas.
Who knows? I think, and you know what, it's really funny, isn't it? Because as human beings, it's like watching a horror movie. We like to frighten ourselves, don't we? And I think that's what happens. We get this mass hysteria. And you know what? Maybe it's just going to be a lovely day where you get to see something spectacular, like a comet, like the eclipse. I mean, I remember watching a total eclipse over the UK when my kids were young, and I was talking to my son about it yesterday, and he remembers it because obviously you weren't meant to look at the sun directly. And I've got in our garage a welder's mask, and I made my little boy wear this welder's mask to look, and we were all swapping between us if he wanted to have a look. So yeah, he remembered that, and it was it was a day to remember, and maybe that's what tomorrow is going to be, and it's going to have this beautiful singing noise from these cicadas that aren't going to be a bit of bother. Concerned? Well, are we concerned? I don't know.
I think it's going to be a lovely day. I do. It's just going to be a lot of traffic. If you're going to go anywhere, I would just stay, grounded and enjoy the day.
I think it's going to be a good day to be alive, and a good day to celebrate being alive, and witnessing something that not many people get to witness. And I do think you're really lucky in the USA. Okay, you might have these cicadas, which could be a bit of a pain in the bottom, but you've got this eyewitness front seat to this massive event with the sun and the moon, and I think that's pretty cool.
Hopefully I'll get to see it. We'll see how the weather holds up over here.
It's really clever, the way we predict these occurrences now with technology. I mean, this must have gone on for centuries, and people just didn't know. They would have thought these were massive acts of God. And, it would be very easy to be terrified by it. Yes, the lights suddenly went out and you had no clue it was coming. You were clever. You could stand up on that day saying, I did this. You must listen to me. And being on it as a prophecy. I'm looking forward to hearing all about it and watching it on TV. It'll probably be a bit of a non-event, really, but we'll see. And if it isn't, it's been nice knowing you, Karen, and I'll see you on the other side.
Yes.
Two mediums in one large universe.
That's right.
There's so much to this world that we don't understand. So much. And I don't think we'll ever understand it, really. We can just make, we get sort of drip fed, I think, from above what we need to know, which is why we have podcasts like ours that are sort of talking about these issues and questioning people's opinions. And hopefully it won't be the end of days.
No, it's not going to be.
No, I don't believe so. I think it may change the energy somewhat, but I don't think it'll be a negative thing. Well, have a good evening. This has been Two Mediums,
One Large Universe.
We'll catch you on the other side, hopefully. Take care, love. Bye.
Bye.